Hello, everyone, and welcome back to My Beautiful People. This is your host, Allie, and today's subject is going to be a spin from the first episode. In that episode, I vaguely mentioned college students and working people, and that's not fair. We're not about that here. So today, we're going to be talking about starting a new chapter in your life. That means, whether it's leaving high school, life after high school, starting college, leaving a company you've been with for 5+ years, even just having like a family and settling down, or if it unfortunately happened to you, I'm so sorry if it did, having like to change your relationship status to single status and all the complications that go with that whole scenario. Before I continue, I just wanted to say that, everything happens for a reason. You're not alone. I know it feels that way. Trust me, because I've been through a lot of that. You're not alone. I promise someone's gonna always love you for you. It might not be a significant other, it might just be friends, and that's okay. And what I want to ask you guys is to just not shut yourself out during that time. Trust me, I know it's hard, but yeah, I know it's hard because I do it too, but just please, if you're going through a scenario like that, just know that there are people out there that love you. All right, so now starting a new chapter. So let me tell you guys two different life-changing scenarios I had. The first one is going to be like a bad way I started it, and the second one's going to be a good way I started it. So the first way, the first life-changing moment I actually had, aside from being a mom, was actually going into college. As I said in the previous episode, I became a mom in my senior year of high school, and I had to kind of rearrange my life and figure out all the complications and trauma that comes with being a mom. So I did not go into college with a good mindset, if I'm being honest. I really didn't. In high school, actually, though, we were contracted with the nearby junior college. And I know it's weird to talk about junior college because I said previously that I did go to university. I do go to university, so that's... But let me continue. So in high school, well, I'm pretty sure the high school I graduated from is still contracted with them, but we did get, high school outreach people coming in and talking with the seniors and seeing who was, thinking of going to university, who was not, helping the seniors that wanted to go to college but didn't know where to start. And I was actually one of those students. Like, I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do. But I know I want to go into college. So I did join that program in high school. And then actually, I think after like maybe 2 months after joining, 3 months after joining or something like that, I actually got accepted to the summer bridge program there, which, as everyone knows, is a little bit more of a big deal than just joining the outreach program. So that also meant that if I had gone through with it, I would have had priority registration for all of the classes I had as long as I kept a good GPA. But then after I had got accepted to the summer bridge program, I actually received the acceptance letter from the university that was not part of my top 5, that I was actually accepted into their university. For what reasons, I really don't remember. I don't even know where that email is anymore. But I did get that letter, and then at that point in my life, I was like, holy crap, like, this is so great. Like, it's not my top 5, but it's a university, nevertheless. Like, this is so amazing. I didn't think I was gonna get in. And then after the whole, like, excited moment, I was like, holy crap, what do I do? Because I got accepted into university, but I'm also part of their programs here. And it was just a long kind of debate of what I was gonna do. And don't get me wrong, I met many amazing people at this university. Some of those people, like, from when I was a freshman, actually still in my life. Some of them, we keep in contact, but they're not active in my life anymore, if that makes sense. So, needless to say, I ended up choosing going to the university. And I know some people are going to hear this and be like, great job, Allie, you got the university and that's so great. It was not. It was not the best decision of my life, because even though I have met amazing people, it made my life a little bit harder, if that makes sense. Because even though I pretty much was in the university, accepted whatever a student that's gonna go there in the fall, I had no support team there. I didn't know any of the advisors. The orientation leader, even though she gave us like her number, she wasn't like close to any of us, if that makes sense. I think I was one of the last orientation like groups to actually go through orientation, so it could have just been that she was worn out. But I didn't know the advisors. I didn't know anyone that was going to that university. I had no plan. Even though I was accepted like for my major, I knew in my heart that I did not want to be in that major. Like, when you're like, when you're at a restaurant, you're trying to order food and go for like the cheaper option because it's cheaper, but you want to go and get like, I don't know, like that burger or that pasta or whatever. That was me with college. That's how it was for me. Like, I didn't, it wasn't necessarily that the university was cheaper. It's just, it would have been easier because I was already accepted and I didn't have to worry about being accepted again. At least that's how, certain people in my life phrased it for me, which convinced me to go to university. And I pretty much threw out like the whole summer bridge outreach program thing that I had with the junior college. And the reason why I say it wasn't great was because I, again, did not know what I was doing. I actually had to do like prerequisite classes to college classes, which, mind you, most of those didn't even get into my GPA. So it was like I spent like a whole year taking classes there that didn't count for my GPA at all. So what ended up happening was I had life throw two really big curveballs at me the second year of college, I think. And that completely just threw off my game at school. I started failing classes. The math class that I needed in order to, stay in college, I ended up failing. So I ended up going back to that same junior college in order to make up the class. And because it was going to take, according to my advisor, I had to come back in the fall, like the next fall, not in spring. She's like, take this website, look through the website, see what classes like match RGEs and take those. That way they transfer over. I did that, and guess what? The only thing that transferred over was the math class. The 2 or 3 math classes I had to take at the junior college. So that's a bad way that I went into. I am back now in the university, so don't worry. But that was kind of like a bad way to go into college, but that's the first scenario. That's the bad way to go into your life-changing moment. The good way, or at least the other life-changing moment that I did go into a good mindset with, was when I decided it was time to move out from my parents' house, and get myself and my daughter an apartment. So I actually had entered a relationship earlier that year, and then we as a couple decided to go ahead and be like, you know what, it's time for us to move. The space is too small. My daughter's growing. She doesn't have anywhere to play. So we decided to start looking for an apartment. And with an apartment, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, application, waiting for the background checks, all that stuff. So we decided to, do like a 5 to 10 mile radius around the university I was going to in order to find an apartment. That way, driving isn't too far and all that good stuff. So the first thing we did, obviously, was look for the apartment. The second thing was to see if we were going to do it with roommates or if we were going to do it by ourselves. Initially we were going to do it with roommates, but they decided they were not ready to move out of their parents' house. So we ended up going forth with the plan, but doing it on our own instead of getting roommates. So what happened was 4 weeks prior to us going in and doing the final application, I had to go and tell my store manager that my moving situation was changing and I was interested in a position that may be open at one of the nearby stores in that area. And he was very helpful with it. He, did email that store manager and was like, hey, my employee is leaving. They want to transfer to your store. Is there any openings? And there was a lot of back and forth, but overall, I did have to go through another interview. I did have a phone interview and he did give me a position. They did warn me though that, it wasn't going to be the same thing I was doing over there. And I told him it was fine. Any position is great, so we did that. The next thing we did was, see how much the down payment was and see how much renting the U-Haul was to move over there because we didn't know anyone with any big trucks. Finalizing who was going to help us on moving day. And then after we finalized all that, I think it was the week prior to us going in and doing the application, we actually stripped down our bedroom and decided what we were going to keep and throw away in order for our new apartment to not be cluttered, for it not to have any trash, just have a lot of new energy, if that makes sense. Not necessarily going in with new things, but okay, this is a new place, this is all of our stuff, we're just gonna have good vibes here, and so on and so forth. But the main point between the two stories is, if you have a plan for something, at least in my personal opinion, I would say stick to it, even if a greater opportunity came up, just because you don't know how, since you didn't plan for that opportunity, you don't know how exactly it's gonna be when you go through that opportunity, if that makes sense. And if you you don't know what's gonna happen, you have a time frame of 6-7 months before that decision is gonna happen. At least start prepping for it and make a skeleton of a plan in order to be more prepared for it. I'm not saying it's not going to be stressful, because with every life-changing moment, there is going to be some stress factors in those moments, but at least you're not being overwhelmed with stress and emotions and being more afraid because you don't have a plan. And it applies to any type of life-changing event that's going to happen in your life. Some of it might come out of the blue, but if you decide to prep, at least for, the unknown, in a sense, kind of like an old saying that I heard, I just don't remember what I was saying. Always expect the unknown, I think is how the saying goes. Then at least you won't be as stressed out during those life-changing moments that happen, whether they're happening because you're knowingly willing to change and create that life-changing event, or if they show up out of the blue. Alright, well, that is it for this week's podcast. This was your host, Ali, and we'll see you on the next one.